Playtesting is where you test playing, and it's very important. Apart from helping the developer find issues with the game, it's also where he finally finds out how much he sucks at making games. Don't ask how I know. It's so important, in fact, that everyone tells developers that they should start as early as possible, which is exactly why my dumbass hasn't let a single soul touch my game in the past 2 years. Currently, my game is playable, but it's like the least user-friendly thing in the world. This thing is user-unfriendly, it's teetering on the edge of user-aggressive, so I can't playtest just yet. Well, I probably could, but I think all I would learn is that I shouldn't have playtested. Perhaps the issue is the tutorial, which teaches you how to move and literally nothing else about the game, or how there's no button prompts, and the map, contrary to what you might believe about them, doesn't actually help you find your way around. The information that it tells you is wrong, and I don't even have an area where the playtesting can happen. But, you know, that's all just speculation, so my goal here is to get the game into a playable state, and then we can see what players actually think about it. And let me tell you, there's no better place to start than this diabolical map, because currently it barely even fits the definition of a map. It's just a poorly lit brick with some cryptic low-resolution text. So, with some editing magic, let me show you what I did. Now we have a well-lit interactive brick. Let me show you its features. It's a fucking map. I literally just added all the things that you would expect from a map. I ain't talking about this for 2 minutes. So great, you can find your way around. Now I just, need a place where you can find your way around in. The first thing I did was, deforestation. You see, if this area around your base already sucks to play in, what's the point of making more areas that suck? So my goal here is to make this tiny slice of the game as good as possible through playtesting, since that'll give me the blueprint to make the rest of the game good. And this took multiple months of me playing, thinking this shit sucks, moving one tree, going back in, testing again, then a blade of grass would look at me funny, so I'd scrap the whole thing, but I was making progress, and the current version absolutely slaps compared to the empty field that I had before. And all of this was made possible by obstacles. When I began rethinking the obstacles, I actually went back to Amnesia the Bunker to replay it, and besides inspiring me to write a whole video essay for my second channel glazing its game design, I realized that the essence of the game, the part that I really enjoy, was totally missing from Vermin. See, there's this constant problem solving going on, with your brain always crunching away at some solution for a problem. With enough problems mentally solved, you have a plan. And by far, the greatest moments come from when this plan goes absolutely to shit, because now you're off script and you're just trying to survive. And the only reason this is possible is because the game is incredibly dense with obstacles, which is also why its small map is so engaging, so you gotta work for every new centimeter. Which is what I told your mom. So with this newfound inspiration, I was able to turn this small area that I already had into such an engaging experience by just putting obstacles in the right places and reshaping the level to make these obstacles obvious. You see, the player ain't gonna have no thought process if he doesn't see the obstacle he's supposed to be thought processing about, so it sounds counterintuitive, but the more obvious I make the hazards, the more interesting the game gets. By the way, I get this question so much, each area of the game will have its own color scheme which reflects what your character feels at that point in the story. So no, I didn't change how the game looks out of nowhere. I'd never do such a thing. Now where were we? Yes, obstacles. So just a quick recap, bleeding makes the day end faster, and night is dangerous, so you really don't want to bleed. Which is why most of these obstacles I'm about to show you are designed to either waste the player's time or to make them bleed. First, I made this mushroom which has a bunch of little mushrooms around it, and if you step on any of the small ones, the main one will release deadly spores into the air that stay for the rest of the day. Basically, you've just blocked the area off for yourself until tomorrow. I also decided to change these random ass eggs I made in the last video into mushrooms because these eggs just look like they're straight out of a poorly made sci-fi game, and my game is a lot of things, but it's not sci-fi. And to deal with these, you can actually burst these by throwing a stone at them or shooting them, which will disable it forever, but if you step on them, they'll disable you forever. Then I also worked on some interactive elements like these planks that you need to tear off fences to slow you down a bit, and loot containers, which feel a lot better in my opinion than just finding an item on the ground randomly. Plus, it expands my target audience to include people who enjoy gambling, so it's a win-win. Oh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Yes! Nothing! Then there's also doors which can either be locked with a lock or chained with a chain. A chain requires your bolt cutters, and guess what a lock needs? That's right, a 12-gauge slug. Or you could use a lockpick. And just putting these obstacles together, along with the corrosive water and the fly swarm, finally gave me the feeling that I was chasing. You find an obstacle, you realize that you can't get through, so you make a mental note of what item that you'll need, and then you'll go explore some other area. You find more obstacles, make more mental notes, and by the time you find an item, you've got this whole decision to make. Because now you have multiple places in mind where you could use it, which feels really satisfying to me. So now, every centimeter feels earned rather than given to you by the developer. Or at least that's what your mom told me. Now the main progression from area to area is driven by abilities which help you overcome new obstacles and access new areas. These are called mutations, and you earn them by feeding animals to the heart. It's not a cock. But the book where you unlock these mutations right now looks like some dumbass made it. not sure why, so I had to make a new book model, which turned out so much better. But over the weeks and months of looking at my diabolical MS Paint placeholders, I decided that I want to look at something less offensive to my soul. So I held a competition in my Discord to make some new placeholder art, and some of you guys are so talented, others not so much, and through a definitely very democratic vote, this was picked, which matches my vision for the style so well that I honestly might just hire this person when it comes time to do the final versions. And after this book, I wanted to do the magazine, which is basically just a book who sold out and began taking all the sponsorships he could get his hands on. Speaking of, today's sponsor is introducing Wishbone.gamess. He's a very cool YouTuber and makes a very cool game, and he wants you to know that he would really appreciate if you wishlisted it. And what else did he say? Oh yeah, he has a Patreon, or so I've heard, and that's it. Link in the description. Now, this magazine was originally supposed to be at a crafting bench, but when I was about to start, I just sat there like, why the fuck is this in the game? Hold on, let me illustrate. This is what setting traps used to look like. You go out, find a place to put your trap, find crafting materials, go home, make a trap, walk all the way back out, and set your trap at that spot. And at first, I was like, damn, that's complicated. Then at second, I was like, why? So I just started cutting shit out, and it magically became a lot better. Now it's go out, find trap, find place to put your trap, set your trap. And the same trap that you might have been excited to find could also... Fuck, sorry. And the same trap that you might have been excited to find could be the same one that you might step in and cause you to be stuck outside at night. So I not only removed a bunch of work, but I also added a new and interesting way to interact with the game. I wish I could tell you that I have more of these profound thoughts, but... that's it. And in the spirit of making things more streamlined, what even is this, bro? Like, how do I read this? Basically, you need to collect a certain amount of blood to sleep, but how much? Well, you're asking the wrong person. In fact, there's no one you could ask to find this out because it makes absolutely no sense. Before, you just blindly gave shit to the heart, walked to the bed and spammed the interact button. Did it work? No. Okay, I gotta find something else. I couldn't even read this shit. So now it's in discrete amounts. Like, to sleep, it's 3 bars of blood at the start of the game, and then in your inventory, I display how much blood each animal gives you. Perfect, now you actually know how close you are to reaching your goal. And man, I got roasted so hard for this new model. I know it doesn't look good, but boy does it function. Kinda like your mom. Since we're still on readability, I find the visuals really hard to understand because in the last video I made the trees silhouettes, which is great and all until you shine a flashlight at them at night and you think there's absolutely nothing in front of you, when in fact the tree bark has simply just absorbed 100% of the visible light spectrum. But I didn't like how the original tree's bark looked, so don't kill me, I changed the trees. To be fair, I already owned these trees from a previous impulse tree shopping spree I went on last year, and I think this looks great. They still look like silhouettes, but when light hits them, they look like trees. It's almost as if I could have thought of this a little sooner. Anyway, you can just sit here and soak in the atmosphere. I did some sound design, and something interesting about this game is that I'm trying to match the vibes from my childhood in Eastern Europe as much as possible. So I'm not trying to add any sort of ominous brown noise track in the background that'll make you subconsciously shit yourself. I'm just making the environments vibey and mysterious, and that'll let you scare yourself. I also made myself a promise because earlier I had these randomly playing animal sounds orbiting above you, and besides the obvious issue of how the fuck is there an invisible deer orbiting above me, it was pretty convincing for someone who doesn't know about it. But my main sense of mystery from being out in nature, whether that's on my uncle's farm or in the forest near my grandparents' house, is that every sound comes from something. And if you can hear that something, I can also find that something. Or in the case of this game, that something can also find you. So every animal sound that you will hear in the game, or footsteps or bush rustling, will be the result of an actual animal being there. I'm going to make all the animals be huntable, which makes the game come to life in a way that I can't even really explain like this. But even now, when I don't have a lot of animals, just sitting by the water and listening to the frogs croak at each other, knowing that I can walk up and find each frog and perhaps murder all of them, makes the game feel really special. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said this whole playtesting thing wasn't keeping me up at night because, well, I've never done this before. So I reached out to none other than Jonas Tyroller for help. And he actually replied with so much useful info that I can now finally sleep again. And since I like to support smaller channels, a huge shout out to Jonas Tyroller. He's awesome. And there I was, ready for my first playtest. I took a deep breath, told myself everything will be fine, and that shit went catastrophically, bro. Like, night came when it shouldn't have. I had to enter a command so she can continue. She didn't understand how to set traps. She didn't see the objective text at all. She slept before she was allowed to, breaking the entire sequence. She escaped the base without using bolt cutters by parkouring on barrels and broke my animation system multiple times and missed some of the hints on the screen. Like, everything went wrong. And this, kids, is why you playtest, because if I didn't, and the game came out, I find out about all these issues through the negative reviews on my Steam page. Editing Wishbone here. Who tagged it anime? Who did it? Show yourself. negative reviews on my Steam page. And since my entire self-worth is tied directly to the art I make, I don't think I'd survive that. Anyway, I went through and fixed all that stuff that I saw, and a few weeks later I had someone else play. And let me tell you, I could feel his expectations dropping in real time as he opened that default-ass main menu. But I was hopeful, because now his expectations were perfectly in line with what he was about to experience. He got through most of the tutorial much faster than the previous person, which tells me that I made some good progress. But then he did the impossible. He didn't do the tutorial stuff in sequence, which broke the game and he couldn't sleep, so after about 10 minutes, this playtest was over. Oh, fuck. And boy was I embarrassed. And then, just to rub some salt in the wound, the heart decided to ear-rape the ever-living shit out of my poor friend. But look, even after 10 minutes, I had so many notes on the things that I wanted to change. Running the test again with him, everything went smoothly. He actually got through the tutorial without something going wrong, until my placeholder humanoid creature decided to show up for an impromptu staring competition in his base. Then when he got outside, he was supposed to put the battery and the flashlight in a relaxed manner. Then the nutsack bat appears, who by the way was not supposed to be here at all. Now after all those hiccups, my friend played for about 40 minutes with no new issues, and I found out a lot about how the level design was actually okay, but I didn't do a good job showing the player where to go. I also noticed that bro absolutely never used his map or the Geiger counter. He also told me, I'm too lazy to check my traps. Yeah, I think that's a you problem. And as soon as everything started going well, we got our second dose of ear rape. But be warned, I'm telling you, this shit absolutely removed both of our eardrums, and on his end, it somehow even amplified my laughing, which definitely didn't help the situation.
I hope you will hear yourself on the video, because you laughing was even worse.
So yeah, I gotta say that went pretty well, and I know exactly what to work on. An interesting thing that he mentioned is that since the days are so short, he felt like he was being punished for exploring, and it forced him to explore so quickly that he missed a lot of things. This is something that I could have never known on my own because I know exactly where everything is, so I always explore really fast, which is why I had made the days so short. And a week later on the next test with him, he played for about an hour and a half and he was enjoying it. Yes, we did end up finding a few very bad bugs, but you know what they say, don't let the bad bugs bite, or something, and altogether, this made me feel very hopeful that I may have, just possibly, improved at game design over the last 2 years. He also mentioned that he doesn't know his health, and as I worked hard to contain my bro, look at the edges of your screen, they're slightly red for a reason. Do you not hear my moaning that I recorded at 3 AM to make the player sound hurt? I realized this guy has a point. The difference between red and red is not exactly a good way to know what your health is, and I was about to start brainstorming when I was reminded there's an exam tomorrow. And me being the star student that I am, I quickly sat down and calculated my current grade, leading me to the realization that I'd already overachieved by more than 5% to get my passing grade. So at that moment, I knew what to do, because what the fuck is this shit? I came up with this blood bag as a health bar, which is filled to different levels based on your health, sitting right in your inventory besides the gauge that measures your radiation. And look, I ain't no Half-Life Alex, but goddamn this looks so cool. Now you can just check what your health is, instead of having to get a PhD in the color red just to know if you're about to die or not. And finally, after all this, I gathered the courage to get the first round of playtesting started with you guys, and thank goodness I did a practice run with my girlfriend, because turns out I actually forgot to update the game since January 1st of 1970. And as I was about to pull out the birthday cake for Vermin's 56th anniversary, I was hit by this overwhelming sense of joy because I did it. My New Year's resolution was to playtest the game, and here I am. I guess my New Year's resolved now. It took me a long time to learn that I can always look at the bright side of the feedback I get. I just had my first tester from Discord tell me that he played for 100 minutes, but unfortunately he was lost for 25 minutes. Now, I could cry over this, but that's a 25 to 75 lost to not lost ratio, which is a pretty damn good start. Now, was it absolutely the most painful experience of my life watching him walking in circles not knowing what to do? Yes. But no pain, no gain, and with the amount I went through, boy am I gonna have some gains. And during these tests, even with my placeholder models, there were moments for each person where they got scared, where they seemed to feel accomplished. There was a moment for each of them where I could tell that they were problem solving in their head.
I'm gonna be honest, the game is like really enjoyable, and I'm not gonna lie.
And this makes all the moments where I feel the skin physically burning off my face with embarrassment worth it, because I know that I'm moving towards the vision that I had of the game since the beginning. So just since the start of the video, I've gone from a game which was not even in a testable condition to having my first test happen, that went very badly, to me taking feedback on board and literally watching my game improve in real time as the tests went on. And if you're interested in helping test the game, join my Discord, wishlist vermin, and if you have too much money, I've got a Patreon and some big ass pockets. Alright, see you later, defibrillator.